Now then, lads, and welcome back. So, with all that talking about the Falkland Islands recently, for whatever reason, I thought it could be fun to have a look at some of the weapons used during that war, but in Enlisted. There's just kind of one problem with that. The Falklands War was in 1982, and World War II was in 1939 to 1945. However, maybe there are some guns. Maybe. The L42A1 is kinda like the Lee Enfield number 4 Mark 1T, right? You know, they're kinda similar. No? Alright, fine. Maybe that one gun that's kind of basically an FAL, the Lewis assault rifle. Now, that thing, it was added a while ago, and not only does it look a bit like a FAL, kinda, it also handles more like a battle rifle at BR2, so there, flimsy reason aside, I want to talk about this gun, so let's just get right into the history. So, the history of the Lewis assault rifle. Well, there isn't much. Its real name is the Lewis Assault Phase Rifle, and yeah, there's not much about it. It was made by Isaac Newton Lewis, the guy who made the other Lewis gun, as a competitor to the BAR, or the Browning Automatic Rifle, during World War One, and was presented to the US, where they said, no thanks. Look, it's essentially just a regular Lewis gun, but he gave it a 20-round box magazine and took off the pan thing magazine. It also looks really slick. But yeah, there isn't really much known about it outside that, it existed. Which is, kind of good because I really like it in Enlisted. Speaking of, in Enlisted, the Lewis Assault Rifle is a pretty good BR2 machine gunner option. Compared to the other BR2 offering of all the Bren guns, you do lose 10 rounds of ammunition for a slightly lower fire rate and a little bit more accuracy. Also, you don't have the Bren magazine in the way, which I'm sure a lot of people would be very ecstatic about. You also get a 10 extra rounds of ammo since you have a 20-80 split compared to the 30-60 of the Bren guns, so that's pretty nice. You also have a little bit more recoil than the Bren 2, but whatever. Look, these are just stats. Stats are boring, boring stats. Let's talk about why this gun is so good instead. Well, as I insinuated in the intro, this thing plays much less like a machine gun and more like a battle rifle, i.e., an FNFAL. What I'm trying to say is that this thing is really good at long range engagements that a machine gun just wouldn't usually be the best option at. Like, this thing is surprisingly good at way more varied engagements, I guess you could say, than you'd ever expect. It's good at close range, long range, and everything in between. The only issue is that in terms of it being a machine gun, it can be more, let's say, temperamental. It's not bad, but definitely inferior at things like suppressive fire, especially due to the high recoil, and you don't get the nice recoil sort of prone benefit when you've got a bipod equipped, which unfortunately this thing doesn't come with. So, if you were to use the Lewis for that, you would have a bit more of an issue. However, when you adopt the FAL or the battle rifle mindset, this weapon is so much more fun to use and just so much more engaging. There aren't too many machine guns like this in Enlisted, especially at such a low tier, so if you were to use this gun, I would heavily adopt a sort of run, reposition, and gun ideology. And it also helps that it's got incredibly clean iron sights to help with this, and the gun's overall smooth aesthetic makes the Lewis just, it feels and looks more like a rifle than an MG, which is just part of the feel and the thing that makes it so cool. It's this gun's cool factor. For such a forward-thinking gun, you should adopt forward-thinking tactics. Just do be warned, though, that the bots, they don't think that far ahead. I don't know where they're thinking, but it's not anywhere remotely close to what you'll be doing. So just pray they don't get killed and you get a chance to use it. The bots find the gun fine to use. It's like any machine gun. They're most likely to get a kill with it, but they're still bots. But, of course, it isn't all sunshine and rainbows. The Lewis Assault Rifle has some small issues that, they may only be small, but they can collect together, which sort of build it up and kind of makes it less fun. Look, firstly, the bullet dispersion seems to be quite a bit more when compared to other weapons. Now, in all fairness, this may be down to me not having the right perks, or something you do seem to miss a lot more shots than you would expect with this thing. It's just, I don't know, it just feels less accurate than you'd think. Now, one reason that I do think that this could be the case is that since I use this at much longer engagements, I would tend to notice the bullet dispersion more when compared to other machine guns in that category. After all, this gun is still in the code a machine gun. It's not like a rifle, so that's probably something down to it. But you should be warned. It's just kind of it's a pain you gotta work with. The final issue with the Lewis is that it is only an event gun. Now, I'm fairly certain that outside of the loot boxes, it's only really been in 2 or 3 events since it came out, which means getting your hands on one is rather difficult. Now, you can fix this. Firstly, you could just play a guerrilla unit until you find someone using this gun and kill them to take it for yourself. Or, you could drop a couple thousand on the loot boxes and hopefully get 3 of them for a squad. I don't know. It's up to you. But yeah, now that I think about it, there really aren't that many issues with the Lewis Assault Rifle. Just the rarity, the bullet dispersion, and now that I think about it, probably the high recoil. I mean that is annoying, but you can live to just, learn, learn to just recoil negate. It's all possible. Look, all I'm trying to say is this thing's pretty good. I'm struggling to find issues with it here. These are all sort of little pointless arguments. Well, they're not pointless, but you know what I mean. I think overall, the Lewis Assault Rifle, or the Enlisted FAL, is a great gun to go and liberate the Europe. I mean Europe with, you know? I mean, it doesn't really matter, though. I mean, just as many actual Nazis in Argentina as there were in Germany. Anyway, now that, this video is over, I would highly rate the Lewis Assault Rifle about a 2 out of 10 in terms of it is a machine gun, but in terms of it as a battle rifle, straight 8 out of 10. This thing's brilliant. It's the most fun battle rifle in Enlisted. If you have some of these, I'd highly recommend you give them a go, just because it's fun. It's fun to have a go and mess about with what is basically a FAL, or a G3 if you're weird and German. Anyway, thank you very much for watching this video, and goodbye.